If I haven't said Shabbat Shalom to you yet, Shabbat Shalom. Isn't it great that we get to come here together in fellowship with one another? It's going to be a good day, I think. Shabbat's always a good day because we're not at work, right? I mean, I like that personally. I don't know about you guys. You don't have school, exactly. So no school, no work. I think that's there's freedom in that, and that's why I think Shabbat's all about. It's freedom. Torah is freedom. So today our Torah portion is kind of centered around two characters, Nadab and Abihu. That's part of the Torah portion. And so that's kind of been my focus for this week, is looking at Nadab and Abihu, thinking about how they structured their way of worship and service to the Father, and comparing that to other characters such as Korah and his ilk, and then comparing that how we would truly serve the Father, and figuring out how this Torah portion, how all this ties together. You guys ready? Sure? All right. Good. All right, so just the teaching outline, I think I already said we're going to just review some past Torah portions. We'll talk about Nadab, Abihu, and then Korah, and then what is the lesson that we should learn from the Torah portion. So first of all, the past Torah portions, if you've been reading along, Leviticus 1 through 7 is all about God's like, here's how you're going to make sacrifice. This is how you're going to do atonement. These are the ways for intentional sins, unintentional sins. All these things are happening. These are the ways you're supposed to do sacrifice. It's for the priests, but the people are supposed to be participating in that sacrifice as well. Bringing the animal, confessing their sins, all that good stuff. In Leviticus 8, we get the consecration of priests. Aaron and his children are set up to become priesthood, set up to be what God has asked them to do. They're appointed people. And what you would have noticed in the past couple of Torah portions as you read them is God is a God of exactness and precision. Nothing in the Torah is in there by mistake. It's not like Moses' hand just slipped one day and he wrote some random things, right? So if God is a God of exactness and precision and he's given us commands, should we deviate from his commands? Should we choose our own ways to serve the Father? That's really my next question. Can you serve God any way you want? Can you decide what your path to God should be and what your path of service should be for God? Or does he indwell in you to tell you what you should be doing for him? I know it's rhetorical, right? You don't have to all shout at once your answer. I know you know the answer to this. So this Torah portion does demonstrate examples of, for example, God's consecrated priesthood, some of what are supposed to be like the pinnacle of holiness in God's kingdom and his covenant people and their failure. So let's read that together. This is in Nadab and Abihu. So real quick, I want to read the Torah portion, just the section that this appears in. And it says, "Now Nadab and Abihu, the sons of Aaron, each took his own fire pan, and after putting fire in them, placed incense on the fire, and offered strange and unauthorized fire," translation depends, it depends on how you read it, "before Yah, which he has not commanded them. And fire came out from the presence of Yah and consumed them, and they died before Yah." Now, as I was reading this, I identified 4 problems that had happened here in this text. You guys ready for them? Here are my 4 problems. Number 1, it's the wrong person and time. Who is supposed to be offering these incense fires before Yah in the first place? Aaron, yes, Aaron is supposed to be doing it, not his sons. Yet, they will have that opportunity when Aaron passes. But in Exodus 30, it says, "Aaron shall burn on it sweet incense every morning." Aaron is supposed to do it, not his sons. It's almost like they're subverting their job, their authority, subverting Aaron's authority. Usurping, right? I guess the term. Usurping, yes. English hard. The second one is wrong for not waiting. So the last time the fire pans are mentioned at all in the Torah was in Exodus 38. Now we're in Leviticus 10, so we got 12 chapters of Scripture. At what point did God say, okay, it's now time to go use the fire pans? Did they wait on his instruction to do what they were supposed to do? No, they didn't. They did not wait. Third, wrong vessel. Wrong vessel. Now this is a little bit technical, but if you read it closely, it says in Leviticus 10, each took his own fire pan. What's the problem there? It's not the right fire pan, is it? See, Aaron was supposed to create fire pans of gold and bronze to be used in the tabernacle. But it says each took his own, and the Hebrew is ish machtato. He used his own fire pan to come before the Lord. He's decided he can bring his own, those guys, Nadav and Abihu, they can bring their own offerings however they want, with whatever materials they want, whatever. And lastly, of course, wrong fire source. Where is the incense, the flames, the fire is supposed to come from to light the incense? Anybody know? Eric knows. Where's it supposed to come from, Eric?
From the altar, sir.
Yes, from the altar. If you go back and, actually it's a little bit forward, but it does say earlier too. Then he shall take a fire pan full of burning coals of fire from the altar before Yah. That's how the fire is supposed to come. Because the reason why is because God himself lit the altar fire outside the tabernacle. If you read back in Leviticus 9, he brings the fire from heaven and starts the fire. So they're bringing, it's the wrong person, not the right time, wrong vessel, wrong fire source. And what's the irony in all that? So if you go back and read the scripture, it says they were supposed to be offering fire before Yah, right? And what happened? Fire consumed them before Yah. Kind of a little bit interesting twist on the thing. Okay, sorry, I know it's a little cringe. I'm sorry, I had to put the iron there.
He's not sorry.
No, I'm not sorry. I actually have some students in my school, like I heard that they are like, they think I'm cringy because some of the things I say. And you know what? I tell them, I get paid to make you cringe. So what's the lesson in all this? What is the lesson that we're supposed to learn from Nadav and Abihu? Kind of listing it out. Don't follow their way, right? What have they done that we should not follow? Do as God says, not as you want to do. Exactly. They had a complete disregard for his divine order. He's got a set path to do things. And they're like, nope, not going to do that. I'm going to do it my way. Shoshana, you wanted to say something? We have a mic somewhere. I think Eric, with his busted knees, he's going to be walking around with the mic.
What comes to mind is all these religions of men, all of them saying this is the way to do it. And they all want to bring their own fire, their own way, whatever time they feel like it, you know. And that's exactly what we see in the world. It's all these religions of man creating their own thing to approach Yahweh, you know. Mm-hmm. And that's just wrong. And that's what they were doing in there.
Exactly. Unauthorized.
Unauthorized.
Oh, Mike wanted the mic.
Well, another irony is that they're not saying we shouldn't be worshiping God or Yehovah. They're saying we want to worship Yehovah. They're just not doing it the way he said to do it.
Exactly.
So they're worshiping the right God. They're just not worshiping in the right way. And I think that's important to remember, is they're not saying we shouldn't be worshiping God, we should go back to Egypt, we should worship their gods.
That's true, yeah. Very good, yeah. Same with the golden calf. Exactly. You guys are getting the lesson here. Good. Kind of listing it out. Like, yeah, they wanted to approach God on their own terms. How do I get to do God's things? Even if he's given a specific instruction, I can do it whenever I want, however I want. It's my way versus Yahweh's. Okay, I know, a little ironic fun. And he's kind of just listing this out. Their service shaped by improvised human ideas. Even though God has established, here's where the fire is supposed to come from, this is the material, this is the time. Nope, they did it however they wanted to do. They substituted all the things that God had asked to do for their own ways. Is it for pride? Is it ambition? Why are they trying to jump ahead of Aaron and do these things in this way? Is it for some self-glory? It's a good question, and the text doesn't say, but maybe it's left for us to think about why did they do that? Okay? And my thinking about all this is, yes, they had good intentions, right? But are good intentions, what does that mean? Just because you have good intentions, that doesn't mean you're doing things the right way. And good intentions, but without proper understanding, leads to what? It leads to failure, right? So they didn't have, I would say they wanted good intentions, but they did not have true zeal for obedience. Key word, obedience. Doing it God's way. We agree? Yes, good. Yeah, Shoshana.
It comes to mind like people go around saying, well, he knows what's in my heart. Well, yeah, he does. But guess what? You're living in Papa's house, you follow Papa's rules. You do it his way, not your way. Doesn't matter what's in your heart, because he's telling you how to do it.
And if you're a new covenant believer, what should be in your hearts? I mean, come on, I'm just asking. If you're a new covenant believer, what should be in your heart? Whatever you want to do? Or does it say in Jeremiah and in Hebrews that the Torah is going to be on your heart? Exactly right, Shoshana. Thank you for sharing that. There's also a little bit of folly, and I'm going to tie this Torah portion also to Korah because it's similar but different. There's actually similar terminology, and I think that's on purpose to try to connect these two scriptures together. So they came against God's appointed leadership. They decided, we're not just going to overthrow Moses, but Moses thinks, oh yeah, you want to overthrow the priesthood too, because Korah is not designated to be the high priest. His family cannot be the high priest. That's only for Aaron and his descendants. So they choose to defy God's leadership, and they pay the price. So let's read it together. Kind of going and saying, this is what Moses is telling them. Moses says to Korah, because you want to rebel against all of us, okay. What God has set up, you're rebelling against, okay. Hear now, you sons of Levi or Levi, is it too small a thing for you that the God of Israel has separated you from the congregation of Israel to bring you near to himself, to do the service in the tabernacle of Yah, and to stand before the congregation to minister to them? And he has brought you near him, and all your brothers, the sons of Levi, with you. So you have a role. You have a designated high role. And now you would seek the priesthood also? Therefore, it is against Yah that you and all your company have gathered together. What is Aaron that you grumble against him? So they had already been grumbling against Moses' leadership, and now they're grumbling against Aaron's leadership as well. So, you see a problem here? Why are they going against divine authority? God has established something. He's got preciseness and exactness, and we have a group of people going, it doesn't matter what God has set up. It doesn't matter that God has set up Moses and Aaron as leaders. We're going to disregard that. So what does it say? So Moses said to Korah, be present, you and all your company before Yah, you and they and Aaron tomorrow, and let each of you take his fire pan and put incense on it. And every one of you bring before Yah his fire pan. 250 fire pans. You also and Aaron each his fire pan. So each man took his own fire pan and put fire in them and laid incense on them and stood at the entrance of the tent of meeting with Moses and Aaron. Then Korah assembled all the congregation against them at the entrance of the tent of meeting, and the glory of Yah appeared to all the congregation. You guys see some problems here too? It's Moses. I feel like he's, you're going to use a millennial term, baited them. He knew what they were going to be doing. He's like, if you really want to do this, by all means do this. Yeah, Nathan, you want to say something?
There's also Aaron also did something like this. Aaron and Miriam. Aaron and Miriam were both jealous that their brother Moses got to be in charge more than they did. This is basically what Korah did, but worse. Well, no, not. It's not worse for Miriam and Aaron. It's worse for Korah.
Yeah, because they got to pay the true price with their lives, whereas Aaron, he actually didn't, I don't think he suffered anything. It was all Miriam who got the leprosy, right? For 7 days. Or was it leprosy? All right. So, whatever it was, yeah. So I see three problems also with this particular situation. I'm sure you guys can identify it. But Moses already knows the instruction, and yet he's asked Korah, go ahead, do it. He's challenging them, right? I say baited. That's kind of like baiting them in to do what they think they're going to do. If you really want to come against God's appointed leadership, go ahead. Do it. Do it your way. So who burns the incense here? It's supposed to be the sons of Korah, right? But if you read later on in this same passage, it says, no unauthorized person who is not a descendant of Aaron should draw near to burn incense before the Lord. That's the lesson of the Korah story. So they're not even supposed to be burning the incense. But Moses tells them, do it. Go ahead. They should have known better. They should have known not to come before the Lord with the incense, right? The second, what about the fire pans? Where did the fire pans come from? Exactly. It uses the same Hebrew words as from the Nadab and Abihu story. Each man took his own fire pan, ish maktato. So they took their own fire pan to use before the Lord. And the fire source, where did the fire come from? Their own. Nathan, you're on it. I'm glad you're participating here. Yes, each man took his own fire pan and put fire of his own making onto the incense pan. And we know what happens when that happens, right? They suffer fate. And the question, I guess, might be asked, where did Aaron get his fire pan? If you read closely in the text, it says, let each one of you take his fire pan. And that includes Aaron. Aaron is supposed to bring his own fire pan. If you read the story closely, Aaron never comes with his own fire pan. He was already at the tent of meeting up with Korah. So where did he get it? Ah, yes, exactly. He must have already been using the appropriate God-ordained fire pan, following the instruction that God had precisely provided to them. It later says, get away from the midst of this congregation that I may consume them in a moment. And they fell on their faces. But Moses said to Aaron, take your fire pan and put fire on it off the altar and lay incense on it. Is that not the exact appropriate way they're supposed to be doing it? Where did he get the fire pan? Because he was just he was at the tabernacle. Logic would dictate that he's actually using the appropriate fire pan. Otherwise, how could he put God's incense and use the coals from the altar to use it? That would be mixing common and holy, right? So what do we learn from here? If we're comparing Korah and his followers, they're not descendants of Aaron, whereas Aaron is, he's Aaron, right? They use their own fire pans. He used the one that God instructed him to use. They created their own fires. He uses the fire from the altar. Now, in this situation, I can't say for Nadab and Abihu what their motive was, whether it was pride, wanting to seek something. But in this situation, we can say for certainty, Korah wanted pride and used selfish ambition. Wouldn't you say? He wanted to usurp the authority that God had appointed Moses and Aaron to have. Whereas Aaron represents here, not in the earlier story with when they grumble against Moses, but here Aaron is representing faithful and true service, true, faithful obedience. We agree? Good. So it's kind of the same lesson. I just kind of copied the same slide. All it says overthrow and subvert what God has set up, which we just talked about. Now here's a question for you. Anybody want to share? I'm sure you'll know the answer once you think about it for a second. What would have happened if Korah had succeeded in trying to overthrow Moses and Aaron? What would have happened next? Anybody want to answer? I hear some grumblings, but we need the mic so someone online can hear it too. Shoshana, you want to share?
I don't think we will have even Jeshua because it will have broken down the whole line from the top, from the beginning. The whole order will have been out of whack.
Oh, that's a good point. That's interesting, for sure. And let me get, what would happen? What would have Korah have done if he had succeeded? What would have been the next thing? What would he have done if he had the leadership of Israel? More idols? More idols? Yeah, I would say so. There's something big in this whole narrative where this is in the center of it. There's rebellion of the people. They keep rebelling. What do they want? They want to go back to Egypt. Yeah, exactly. So do you think if Korah had been successful in overthrowing Moses, he'd been like, all right, I'm going to listen to the people. Let's go back to Egypt. I think he would have, because that is what the people wanted, and that's what the whole congregation was grumbling about. Oh, all that stuff that was back in Egypt, all the good food that we had, all the leeks, the onions, the meats. Forget that slavery part. Forget that part. It's all the good stuff we remember, the good old days, right? Yeah, I remember the good old days. All right, so what is the lesson from these stories? You could probably guess there's a lesson in humility, right? If you're going to choose to overthrow what God has established, if you're going to choose to disobey God, then let it be on your head. Or you can choose to approach the Father with humility and with grace and seeking Him and His instruction versus the instruction of your own life. And thinking like, oh, you could just do whatever you want. Hopefully you already agree with that, right? That's why we're here, right? Because we want to honor the Sabbath, we want to honor His holy days and all that good stuff. So, God is not pleased with people who do these things. I think you'll agree, hopefully. Doing whatever they want, whenever they want, and however they want. Wouldn't you say that Korah's story and the Nadab and Abihu story represent that information? In addition to the whole Torah itself. Because the Torah does lay out divine instruction about how things should go. Do you want me to go through this? It's kind of just the contrast of the ways of folly of Korah, Nadab, and Abihu versus God's ways. It says, for example, disregarding versus wholehearted obedience. Approaching God on His terms versus your own terms. Ooh. Instead of saying it's my way, it's Yahweh's way. Zeal for obedience. God is our North Star. He is the one we should be following, not our own intentions. And instead of improvising and making up your own ways to serve the Father, you follow how He has said to you, this is how you should serve me. Right? And what we notice also in both stories is, particularly in the Nadab and Abihu, they didn't trust in God's provision. They didn't go and get the fire from the altar outside as they were supposed to. Whereas people who are obedient should trust in God's provision in all our lives as much as we can. So instead of trying to usurp authority and usurp what God has established, we should come in humility with patience and self-control. I wonder where I've heard that before. And honor God and His anointed, which is the Messiah. Am I right? Yeah, Mike. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to drink some water, too.
There's also an amazing hubris in this.
Hubris, yes.
If we say our way is just as good as God's way, or better than God's way, then we're basically saying we're as good as God. And so we're not worshiping God, we're really worshiping us by doing what we want to do instead of what God wants us to do. We're saying that we know as good as God what's good for us.
Wow, yeah. That's a great lesson to be learned here. And Don, yeah.
It's, can you hear me? All of this is leading up to the ultimate authority. If they can't follow these simple instructions, how are they going to follow the Ten Commandments? How are they going to do God's will? It's all leading up to, you will understand I am the ultimate authority. You cannot deviate from that, because then we have man's rule and man's laws that can change over time. Cannibalism, 100-year area, and another era, they don't have cannibalism. We can't have that kind of stuff. Man's laws are never good. You have to have an ultimate authority.
Exactly. And we learn that the whole Torah is full of examples of rebellion and disobedience. And God says, especially, I think it's in Leviticus, but also at the end of Deuteronomy, if you do these things, this will be all the blessing for you. But what if you don't do these things? You receive a curse. What's that? Consequences. And we see from history that they did not obey, and they received the huge consequence. They were spit out of their land multiple times. So, oh, yeah, go ahead. Dinesha, right?
Denisha.
Denisha, okay.
So I was thinking about it, the people doing it their own way brought destruction upon themselves and the nation. And when Aaron, I think I have this right, and I'm not mixing it with another story, but when Moses told Aaron to get that, and he runs out, doesn't he stop the plague? Or am I conflating that with another
You're
story?
right. Mm-hmm.
So when we follow God's direction and do it His way, it brings healing and salvation.
Yes, exactly right. Yes. Very good. So, in tying this all together, we have the lessons that we've learned, but how do we apply that? How do we work that out in our lives? This will be a time for more participation as you I'll give some examples of some things too, but I would definitely like to hear from you, because I'm only one person with a limited mind. I think there's wisdom in everybody sharing, their thoughts going forward. But first I want to set this up for you. What does true service to God look like? And my mind always comes back to the Psalm 1 type of person. Blessed is the person who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, nor stand in the way of sinners, nor sit in the seat of scoffers. But his delight is in the Torah of Yah, and on his Torah he meditates day and night. And what happens from a person who is the Psalm 1 person? He is like a tree planted by streams of water that yield its fruit in its season, and its leaf does not wither. So you want to yield the fruits, right, that he's producing in you. But let me ask you, who would enjoy this type of fruit? The real question is, do trees produce fruit for their own enjoyment? Who would enjoy the fruit of a tree? Who's it for? It's for others, is it not? When the tree grows, God has created all these trees for us with fruit, apples and oranges, not so the tree can look all pretty, right? It's for humans to enjoy. For people go, yes, I see God's great creation, and reach out and grab it and eat and consume for others' own benefit, not for the tree's benefit. So, in going through that, if these fruits are for others, would you agree fruits are for others? The Psalm 1 person is not producing fruit for his own glory or self-righteousness. It's for others to see and enjoy. So, there are, I already said this. There are fruits in the scriptures that we can look at as models and say, these are the things that a person who bears these things is truly living in the Spirit of God. The fruit of the Spirit. You guys know it? When I went to Awana, I think is what it's called, that we practiced, yes, exactly. We practice every week. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness. You guys have that off the top of your head? But what do those mean? It's just words, right? Unless you think about it and study it and meditate. What does that mean? What does love mean? I really want you to show me. Okay, sorry. I had to. You guys know that song? Okay. I'm tilting toward the cringe. I'll bring it back. Sorry. So what does love mean? I'll give you some examples Jessica and I were kind of hitting around, and then we'll definitely ask if you have a thought too. What does it mean to love others? We're not just talking about a love between a husband and a wife or a father and a daughter, but what does it mean to love someone else? For someone to partake of that kind of fruit, a fruit of love that you produce. Some of our thoughts that Jessica and I were thinking, and definitely want to come back to you, of course. Just let me share mine, and then I can hear from you. Does that sound good? Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So Jess was saying, what about showing empathy for someone, even while you're hurting? You reach out into their situation, and you love them enough to take care of them. Even if they're suffering, you're going to reach out and help others. Instead of focusing on yourself and your own whatever's going on in your life, helping someone else. What about self-sacrifice? That's what that is, right? Consideration and compassion for other people. And Paul says in Romans 8, God demonstrated his own love. This is the model of love that we should listen to. God demonstrated his own love in this. While we were still sinners, Messiah died for us. That is the definition of self-sacrifice. And I believe that's the model of love. But I do want to hear from you. So, Denisha, would you like to share?
Well, another aspect of love is being honest, even if they don't want to hear the truth.
Oh, my.
You know, like it talks about certain people, you might have to snatch them out of the fire. They don't realize what's happening, and you've got to do that, even if it means that they're not going to like you. You got to be honest and approach them with truth. And well, that's all I'll say for right now.
Becca, did you want to say something?
Hang on.
We got online people, so just want to make sure they hear it too.
In a way, loving someone is literally just showing them every single other fruit of the Spirit.
Yes, that's
Just
true.
all of the other ones. Because you can't say, oh, I love this person, and then not show them goodness or be peaceful around them. And like a definition of peacefulness that I was given as a child by my dad was that a peaceful person is someone that has the ability to be harmful and like commit harm, but chooses not to. A harmless person is someone who does not have the ability to commit harm.
Very interesting. Such wisdom from your father. And that kind of goes into the idea of self-control. Peace and self-control are built on one another too. Yeah, Don?
I sum it up in 3 words: selflessness, discipline, and dedication. If you do those 3 things every day, you will show love, you'll dedicate yourself, and you'll have discipline to do it.
All right, very good, very good.
We also need to remember that especially in the Old Testament, love is not an outpouring of emotion. Love is action. You love somebody, you show them that by doing things that show that. You know, if I love Denisha, I take out the trash, not because I want to take out the trash because I get great enjoyment out of it, but because she wants me to take out the trash. So I subsume myself to show the love for her. And that's the same way we should approach the Father, but everything. We're doing the things that need to be done, that were asked of us to do, in spite of the fact that maybe that's not what our spirit wants to do.
And it takes a level of humility to say, put yourself aside for the sake of others. Self-sacrifice. Yeah, exactly. What about joy? This one is the one that I feel the most difficult really answering. So as I was talking with Jessica about that, what does joy look like? I would bring this up also. I was thinking about a time recently where I was standing out in the hall in my classroom, greeting students to come in. And one of my students came up to me and said, "Mr. Mack, you sound," that's my name at school, Mr. Mack, you don't look very happy to be here. You don't look like you're very joyful today." And I realized, well, what does that look like then? If I'm standing there being who I normally am, if they don't see that joy in me, what am I doing? Because my job in working at a school, I mean, yes, that is my physical job, but what is my job on earth but to show joy to others so that they would be drawn to the Father as well? And if I'm not showing that, if they see on my face unhappiness, if I'm not showing that joy, how would they want to follow the God that I'm following? That's how I thought about it today. Especially coming to work, coming to church, to FCM this morning. Jessica said showing excitement and interest in others is a way you can show joy to someone else. Like maybe Todd's going to tell me a story and I'm just hooked in. I'm so excited about what he's saying. I'm showing joy to him and he's like, yes, this person really cares about me. This person is joyful to be with me. What about joy in life? It's the small things, right? Going to, yesterday I went and saw my daughters at, they were playing at the splash pad at Mall of Georgia, and I was like, oh my gosh. It didn't say, I guess it wasn't on my face, I think Jessica said, but I was so happy to watch them playing in the splash pad and having so much fun. That brought joy in my life to see them enjoying it. What about brightening others by seeing your joy? How can we do that? One specific example I was thinking of was at the Seder. Jessica, she was doing the dancing and some of the singing. I had a coworker here and her daughter, they both said the same thing, that Jessica demonstrated such joy to be doing what she was doing. Do we all express that? Do we all show that what we're doing for the Father is something we love, that passion for it? They saw that in Jessica, and they pointed it out because it's so odd. It's so different. People who go to church or go to synagogue, they don't always look so happy, do they? They look like they're just going through rote, routine. But what if they see someone who's celebrating the Passover is so happy to be there, to enjoy that, and to remember the day that we were all honoring, remembering Yeshua's sacrifice. There's joy. I know it celebrates his death, but there was joy in his death too because we now have life in him. Does anybody else have anything they want to say about joy? Because that was kind of like what I was going with right now. If not, we can move on to the next fruit of the Spirit, the things that we are supposed to display for others, for them to enjoy too, which is peace. Becca, I think your wisdom that you shared from your father was a great answer for peace. It really was. What does it mean to seek peace with other people? I mean, clearly it's like, don't have contentions with others, right? Keep your peace. Whether it's at your job, maybe you have that annoying coworker that you want to take out back and give them the old Yeller treatment. Eric, I'm looking at you. He was over there like, yeah, I understand. That's one way. That's in person. What about people online? Do you show peace when you're online? I'm not the person who's historically been a very peaceful online person. If I see, used to be in a lot of atheist chats, and they would say something so stupid, and I'd be like, okay, I really got to say something, some witty comeback to just jab at them. I've learned recently that that's not going to work anyway. So why even try that? Why not try just show your peace, show that you know what, you're wrong, I know you're wrong, but I'm going to share with you the peace of my Messiah. What about having consideration of other people's point of view? I think someone else had said, like, choosing not to say, actually, you basically said that, didn't you, Becca? Choosing not to say something when you could. Choosing to be a peacemaker. What about if you have disputes between two people? And getting in there and going, guys, let's see each other's point of view. Isn't that bringing peace amongst brothers? So purposeless arguing, we would agree, is not peaceful, right? So we're not going to have any of that today, right? Just kidding. Hopefully. All right. Anybody want to add to that? Todd, yes.
Offense is the opposite of peace, and I feel like our culture really revolves around offense. Like, who have I offended by saying this or that? I feel like the devil's trap is the trap of offense, and the opposite of that is peace. So if you can calm yourself and let yourself be full of peace, even when you want to rage because you feel offended, I think that's what that's kind of getting at.
That's a great point. Very culturally relevant. Yes, absolutely. We do live in a culture of being offended and being being offensive? Yeah. You're right. What about patience? This one might be one of the hardest ones we have to display among others, right? Wouldn't you agree? I want to share with you an example of where I had to show patience. I had a student, I'm not going to say his name, I'll call him Mr. M. Okay. He was being so rude to me, disrespectful, refusing to follow my instruction, like he was out in the hall barking at other teachers. Don't ask me why, I don't know what the heck he was doing. Yes, literally barking, like an animal. Sounds like something a middle schooler would do, right? And I had to show extreme patience because even though he's being rude to me and being disrespectful to me, in that moment and seeing all that, I was like, this is not, if I respond the way he's responding, he wants me to respond. He wants me to respond with anger and bringing down the log. That would make him joy. That would give him joy to make me mad. I had to show patience with him. In fact, I was talking to him. I learned, I talked to him. I was like, what you're doing, I know what you're doing, but you know you're not supposed to be doing these things. And we got to the root problem of what he was experiencing. And it was that his brother, who used to go to the school, was a horrible person. And everybody knew his brother because his brother had been expelled. And so he was like, you know what? Everybody's looking at me like I'm my brother. That even though I'm a completely different person, I'm going to be like my brother. Therefore, I'm going to treat them. Everyone's going to treat me like I'm my brother. And so he acted like his brother. And I told him, you're not your brother. And I'm not here to judge you, whatever your brother did, because I had his brother too. I'm not here to judge you for anything your brother did. You're your own man. You need to forge your own path. Don't be like your brother. I told him, if people judged me, if they saw my older brother and what he did in the past and looked at me the same way, I would be very upset. I mean, I don't know how I would live through that because my older brother was a horrible person. And if they kept looking at me, I mean, I didn't do anything. Why would you judge me that way? So in doing that, I've had this conversation with him back in October, I'm his favorite teacher now. Loves me. And I've built him up spiritually. So that is, I would say, a true example of showing someone patience, the fruit of the Spirit of patience, and how he can now partake of that. I have another story too, but I'm looking at the time. We're getting 12:08. I know Dawn's already like, it's time to go, sir. Anybody want to share anything about patience? Maybe an experience that you've had? Okay. The other one is kindness. I would say that the example I just provided is showing someone kindness and patience kind of in the same breath. How I showed him kindness, so I'll glance over that one. Not that you should, though. What about goodness? I had to look this one up, too, because what does it mean to be good? What does goodness look like? Anyone heard of gotquestions.com? Pretty common website for ideas about the Bible, right? It said goodness is a person who's gives to the poor, provides for one's children, visiting the sick, volunteering to clean up after a storm, and praying for an enemy. So what does that all represent? Doing acts out of your heart, out of the Spirit that God gave you, not for a reward or some kind of earning, but because you genuinely feel like you should do those things. You ever feel that way sometimes? Let others see and partake of that and give glory to the Father. What about faithfulness? I mean, the fact that you're here today is a display of faithfulness, one, because you're showing faithfulness to the Father. Because He set aside the Sabbath, right? And on this day, we're supposed to honor it, not making anyone else work. We're not supposed to work. We're supposed to worship Him, enjoy this day that He gave us. So going out and making someone else work or working on this day is not exhibiting faithfulness. But what else does faith? Faithfulness has a lot of different things. What about trusting in God? Trusting God meaning in His plan and His provision, even when you don't see it yet. That would be showing faithfulness to the Father by trusting Him, right? Yeah, Denisha.
Well, faithfulness can also be keeping your commitments.
Mm-hmm.
So when Mike and I married, he said one of the things he wanted to do was open the door for me. And so he'll do that. But, sometimes life happens and we get into arguments and anyway, he will still open the door for me, even though, we're not wanting to talk to each other. And so that's faithfulness. Even though maybe I'm not acting right and he's frustrated about that, he's still going to do what he said he would do. He's keeping the commitment.
That's great. That's great. So, yeah, I think that's great. Yeah. Shoshana.
The fire pans came back to mind because faithfulness will require you to trust Yahweh's way, to do it His way with His design person, and fire pan, not take your own and decide how you're going to do it.
Yeah, and they had an exact instruction, and they completely disregarded it all. So loyalty is kind of built into faithfulness, not just trusting, but loyalty. What about being honest with others so that they will trust you because you are a loyal and honest person? By showing people loyalty, showing people that you are a person to be trusted, they will want to say, okay, this is a person, a loyal and trustful person, trustworthy person. Why? Maybe there's something about what they're doing that I should follow too. And that would be exhibiting fruit for the Father. Yeah, I think that's good. How about gentleness? Gentleness is a tough one as well, right? Sometimes it's just better to not respond to somebody, right? Someone says something stupid, cut you off in traffic, Eric. Instead of driving by them, flicking them off. I'm not saying you've done that, okay, hypothetically. Today, well, gosh, oh boy. What about not being quick to respond with harshness? I can't remember, I think Todd, you had said it, like a culture of offense, like, what was I trying to say? Instead of being quick to respond to someone and then try to get at them immediately, what if you think about what you say before you actually say it? Because if you show calmness in your response, perhaps you will receive a calm response, wouldn't you say? Not always, but to the best extent possible, that is the fruit of the Spirit. What about coming to people with humility, seeking restoration instead of saying, oh, I got you and I'm the best and you're wrong and I'm right? That wouldn't be very gentle, right? It's hard. I really understand that's hard to show that fruit every day, all the time. But God is manifesting these fruits in you by giving you His Spirit that you would be able to do these things. And I believe you can. But you have to listen to the guidance of the Spirit. What about self-control? Now, this one's a whole big thing. We can open up a can of worms, right? Rachel, you look like you got something to say about self-control? It kind of goes along with the peace thing that you had said, Becca, from your father. Choosing not to do when you could. That's hard. For example, Jessica said something this morning. Not going to repeat what she said, but I immediately, I had this urge, like, okay, I got to punch back. Not physically. Yes, not physically. Not physically. Guys, I don't go home and beat my wife, okay? Just so you know. But I had this feeling in my spirit, why would I say this to her? I had already had a thought, come back to say it. If I had said that to her, that would have hurt her feelings. Why should I have said that? Why would I say that? So I had immediate thought. I think that's a fruit of the Spirit, saying, you don't need to say that. There's no reason. All you're doing is going to cause a problem. So it's like choosing how to respond appropriately to a grievance or some kind of experience, right? Is self-control. I mean, this is a whole bag of things. I'm sure you guys all have experiences where perhaps you're like, I wish I had exerted some self-control. Or perhaps you're thinking, I did exert some self-control and that actually helped me, wouldn't you say? Anybody have a personal experience they'd like to share about self-control? I'm thinking self-control, if you want to look at what lack of self-control looks like, look at toddlers. Toddlers don't know what they're doing. Everything is just me, now, all the time. No thought or expression like, let me consider what other people are doing or thinking, right? That's kind of what children do, right? Teenagers from time to time. It's true, Becca. It's true, whether you want to believe it or not. Teenagers do have, if you're looking at them, that's kind of like... Okay, yes, lumping older teenagers with youngers is true. It's not crazy. Middle schoolers, so that's my model of like, if I want to look at the lack of self-control in somebody, I consider it my students. That's the 6th graders, the 7th graders, that's my age group, 12 to 14. I'm like, okay, that's lack of self-control. That me, now, all the time. It's all about me. I need what I want. I want it whenever I want it, and I'm requesting it, and I'm going to hit somebody. I'm going to pull somebody's pants down in the hall without any thought about what you're doing in the moment. Yes, that happened, by the way.
I was going to say having self-control with the children, because sometimes they just ride you up the wall and you want to just yell at them and tell them to go to the room and be quiet for 30 minutes.
Not our children.
Not our children.
Don't do that.
I would never. But to have self-control to take that second breath and say, they're toddlers and they don't have self-control, so somebody here has to have it.
You got to be the adult in the room?
Unfortunately.
It's true. If you think about kids, I mean, that's the representation. They lack self-control. You're supposed to have as much self-control as possible with them. So, kind of reaching towards the conclusion here, what is our service to God then? Bearing these fruits out in the world is our service, right? You might have your own personal mission that God has assigned you, but what is a more general service? We're supposed to be able to be a representation of God in the world, right? Here's the thing. The world is watching us. Whether you want to believe it or not, the world is watching you as a believer, as a Christian, as a follower of Messiah, however you want to call yourself. They're watching you. And if you make one little mistake, they're like, all right, we're about to point that all out. You said you follow Messiah, but you actually did this. Well, we're not perfect people, but we got to do the best we can. And I think we have the Spirit within us. All of you do. That's why you're here. The Spirit has guided you here to believe in this God, His Messiah, on this walk. That has to be Spirit-led. So I think in every situation, you will have that guidance from the Spirit to do the right thing. Not only are we, just being watched and show the fruits of the Spirit, we're also disciples of Yeshua. So we have to walk as He walked, right? He is our model. He is the perfect guide. How should you live life? He is the model. And we are supposed to be ambassadors to Him. His representation in the world, representation of the Father, to shine His light in a dark world. The world is dark. How can we be a light to others? And our spiritual service is this, Paul says, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship or service. Not just doing things for your own good, your own benefit, but to serve others too. Isn't that what the fruit of the Spirit's all about? Those fruits are not just for you. They're for others to enjoy. And by doing those things, you will shine the light of God into the world. So in Matthew 5:16, it says, let your light shine before others so that they may see your good works. The fruit that you're exhibiting, that light that you're going to be shining out into the world, it's good works for others, right? It's for the benefit of others. And what does it say? What does Yeshua say here? When you bear these fruits, when you shine this light, you give glory to your Father, to the Father in heaven. That's what this is about. It's not because you want to have self-control. It's not because you want to show peace. God is producing in you fruits through the Spirit to bear this out for people to enjoy and to give glory to the Father. Agreed? Agreed? Good. And of course, any light that we have, that we shine before others is not our own light. We simply reflect the light of the world, I would hope. So our mission for Him, we kind of already said these things. We serve God by honoring His Torah, by bearing the fruits for people to enjoy, and to give glory to the Father. By doing these things, we give glory to the Father. So I want to leave you with some of these passages, and then we'll conclude here. In 1 Peter 2, it says, you're a chosen family, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for His own possession. He's talking to a group of not just Jewish people, but also Gentiles. So it doesn't matter what bloodline you come from. This represents you. A people for His own possession, that you may proclaim the excellencies of Him who called you out of darkness into His marvelous light. Once you were not a people, but now you are God's people. Once you had not received mercy, now you've received mercy. And don't you want that for everybody? Don't we want that for other people to enjoy the same mercy? It'd be selfish if you didn't want that. He also says, beloved, I urge you as sojourners and exiles to abstain from the passions of the flesh, which wage war against your soul. Keep your conduct among the nations honorable, so that when they speak to you as evildoers, that they may see your good deeds and glorify God on the day of His visitation. That's what it's about. Your good deeds are not for you. Your fruit's not for you. It's for others, and ultimately to glorify the Father. And of course, shine light into a world that is full of darkness, as Peter says. Also in Colossians, Paul says, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience, fruits of the Spirit. Bear with each other and forgive one another if any of you has a grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. And over all these virtues, put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. And he says, whatever you do, whether in word or deed, do it all in the name of the Lord Yeshua, giving thanks to God the Father through Him. What we're doing is not for us, it's for Him. You're not here to satisfy yourself, are you? You're here to glorify and serve the Father. And I don't mean here today at FCM, I mean in this world. You're not here for yourself, you're here for Him. So, just want to leave this with you. If you want to take a second to think about it, based on what you've heard today, What is something you can or will do this week to reflect His light and show the true service to God? Think about it at your job, at your house, with other people, at the grocery store, wherever you may be. What will you do this week to represent God to the world?